So Bob has been carrying the flag for games at Google for a long time. He's been there 6 years, including 4.5 years spent on games. And now he's actually one of many gaming people at Google. We were just talking backstage, and there are people like RJ Michael and Noel Falstein and Jamil Maladina all working at Google now. And so I admire Bob's patience for sort of being the game guy for that long. And I'm glad that in all those years, you have not picked up a Twitch.
Thanks, Dean. Good stuff.
Anybody get that joke? Okay, yeah.
We're trying.
That's for the people on Twitch out there. You know.
Cool. But no, I mean, thank you for having me here. Welcome everybody here, both live and then online as well too. So as you mentioned, I've been doing games at Google longer than about anybody. We're definitely getting more people who are in the company, who are from the business. And there's a lot that's going on within Google and games too. Mm-hmm. And so for us, Android and Google Play has become a big focus for us. When I think about games at Google, we have several projects that are now clearly at scale with mobile and Android and Play, with our ads business, obviously, with YouTube. But then we have another crop of projects as well that are very nascent. So when you look at Niantic with the game Ingress, it's increasingly becoming a geolocation-based platform. When you look at projects like Tango, that's innovating at the hardware level, even things like Cardboard, where just you're very, very nascent, but still generating a lot of excitement within Google overall. So that's just a part of the culture for us. It's that 20% culture of just people following their passion. And there's so many gamers that are within the company that, even though obviously Google didn't start as a gaming company, the initiatives that are happening are just growing all the time.
Mm-hmm. And Android is 62% of the mobile device market now, and games are a huge part of what's important in that mobile ecosystem. I have wondered for a while if it was all accidental, and whether Google's sort of presence in games is intentional or not. Could you sort of describe what it's like to see it sort of from the inside? Yeah,
sure. I mentioned that 20% culture too, because it's not like people spend one day doing something different, but it's largely been licensed to do something that's other than your core job. And even when you look at a lot of Google's history, we're just expanding into more and more businesses. One really important point I think to make is that Google and many of the larger tech companies really focus on being general purpose platforms that include both gaming as well as a variety of other media verticals and applications. But that's a really important concept, because as everybody becomes a gamer, as there's that device that's in your pocket that is taking on more and more capability, games are just they're great use cases for that. And so there's a great symbiosis between a company like Google that's doing more with general purpose platforms and just making ubiquitous devices, and then creating opportunities for game developers to reach massive scale. That's just it's definitely a big part. And for us, back to your first point, is we have more and more people who have been in. Somebody like Mark Delora, especially, he spent just a brief amount of time at Google, but he was really important to me. We worked together a lot 4 years ago, and so just seeing that and having a company like Google that provides these great general purpose platforms, but then also being smarter and more engaged with how we deal with the game developer community is a really good thing for us to work together on.
Mm-hmm. So you've announced Android TV, which is a more serious effort to get Android into the living room than Google TV was before it. What does this mean for games?
Cool. Yeah, so we announced Android TV at Google I/O this year. And so Android TV, we gave out all the attendees, we gave them the ADT1 dev kit. So it was a very not consumer-focused name. It started as a developer kit for developers to be able to test their games on this Android TV device. There were about 24 games that were available, just so that people would have the experience of what it would be like to play on these devices. Games is a key piece of Android TV. We've believed for a long time that Android will be ubiquitous, that it moves from smartphone to tablet to television to many different form factors, and that there's just a huge opportunity for these TV devices. A couple other points to make about Android TV as well. One, it's important to recognize that it is a platform and ecosystem approach, where we announced a variety of hardware partners at I/O, including Sony and Sharp, that'll be making Android TV compatible TVs next year. And then there's also the more high-end core-focused providers like an NVIDIA or a Razer that's going to really pursue the high end of gaming on Android TV devices. And so we're taking a platform approach to get to scale, because this is a new market category. We saw on the smartphone side that getting to scale really matters, right? Getting to that 62%, as you said, as we look at Android TV, we really want to grow that ecosystem as quickly as possible.
So our conference is about global gaming. I'm curious what that means for you. And you made some announcements about AndroidOne today. I guess how does this idea of global gaming tie into what you've announced about AndroidOne?
Sure. Yeah, so there's a lot of themes with international, with Google Play overall. We announced at I/O that there's more than 1 billion monthly active users of Android. And so when you look at who's a user of Android right now, it's largely everyone all across the world. And so you specifically mentioned the AndroidOne announcement. So for us, we're reaching people everywhere. We actually had an event in Delhi just earlier today where Sundar Pichai, and now he launched AndroidOne. It was another project where we'd originally mentioned it at Google I/O this year, and then today we made a more complete announcement. So we're working now with the first 3 local OEMs in India. So in India, it's important to hit lower price points to reach a broader audience. They don't subsidize their phones, but these three OEMs are releasing phones for about $100 unsubsidized, and they're very capable phones. And so the AndroidOne initiative is designed to help reach emerging markets with very high-powered, low-cost phones. So for about $100 unsubsidized, it's a quad-core processor from MediaTek. It's a gig of RAM. These are not the low-end devices that you associate from the past. These are very capable devices. In addition to that, from the software side, they'll all be stock Android. And so we're providing a more consistent software experience. They'll be getting over-the-air updates at the same time as the Nexus devices. They'll be some of the first devices to get the Android L release. And so these are devices that are coming at a price point that's very modest. But the power in these smartphones and the software that's there is very important. But obviously it's not just that too, where when a lot of developers and game developers think about our platform, you think about Japan, Korea, other Asian markets. We spend a lot of time thinking about this because to your point with this conference, there's so many global opportunities that are out there, and so we're increasingly working with game developers to help them bring content from one market to another. It's certainly not easy to do that, right? There have been a number of developers who have tried to reach international markets, and it certainly is challenging. That's probably a topic all to itself, and happy to talk more if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
But we're definitely spending more and more time helping developers to reach international audiences.
Mm-hmm. So developers, they have a choice. They could choose maybe Apple, Android, some other things. They've made some big bets on your platform. How do they have the confidence that Google is not going to change the platform in a way that hurts them, or how do you ensure that inside Google the concerns of game developers are listened to?
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of my job. So they're just being out and engaging with more of the community. Right now, we probably have active relationships with about 1,000 different developers, and so just obviously there are degrees of interaction with that bunch of developers, but we meet with them very regularly. One thing to note too is that inside of Google, we're very cross-functional in terms of the business development group, product management, engineering, marketing, finance, all across. Working very closely together. And so for us, it's my responsibility to help all of those people understand what are the primary concerns of game developers. In some cases, even having game developers come in and speak directly to a variety of people within Google. And so it's definitely something that we think about, because for us, now that we've become a larger platform overall, we really focus on growing a healthy ecosystem for everyone, right? Because it's important for us as Google, as the steward of the ecosystem, to not just be doing it for ourselves, but making sure that there's outside investment that's occurring into Android and Google Play as well.
So there have been challenges for Google over the years in the competition with Apple. Apple started with advantages in payments, things like iTunes already had credit card accounts and all that from the music days, right? So Google has lagged sometimes behind Apple. Where do you feel the platform has improved a lot?
With payments specifically?
I think as a game platform, really.
Yeah.
And everything that is essential for that.
Yeah. I mean, the payments piece, I mean, you mentioned iTunes into there. That is something where, if you think about Google's businesses, we had been, our almost 100% of our revenue had been ads-based for the longest time. And now with Google Play, it's the first business that monetizes in a very different way through receiving direct payment from consumers. And so for us, we have had a growth period over the past few years in terms of just getting more people that are payment enabled, who have a form of payment associated with their Google Play account and can then pay. It's something that has become, we've made a ton of progress. I mean, when you look at it, we list this on our site, but there's now 26 different countries where we accept direct carrier billing in those markets, and that's driving a lot of growth within our ecosystem. There's 22 countries where we now offer Google Play gift cards, and that's grown dramatically just in this past year. And then we also recently launched a partnership with PayPal as well too, and so that's available in 12 different countries at the moment. And so when we look at really making sure that we have a first-class payments solution for everybody that's out there, it's definitely an area where we've grown a lot over the past few years, but it's an area where we're making significant investments overall too. And so that's really core to that, what I think the monetization question is there. And then overall, just having more powerful devices that are coming to market as well too. I mentioned it at the lower price points, having something like AndroidOne, but as you look at providing that total solution for what consumers and players need to have a really compelling experience, and then what developers need to create a real business, we're bringing a lot of those pieces together.
So Google's motto is "Don't be evil." And Google professes to be more open as well. So I wonder, how does this translate into what you do in games and affect some of the decisions you make about the game platform?
Yeah, no, you're right that it's true. One of the things, Larry Page will talk about some of these things, right? Because that saying dates back to a very long time ago. But one of the ways that he's explained that is that just open systems have a way of becoming just larger overall. And so there's actually pragmatic reasons for having that type of approach. When you have an open system like the web, it becomes immensely huge, and that creates a lot of opportunity overall. And so when you start with that principle, you see where some of the projects that we do land. So for example, just a lot of our mobile applications are available cross-platform, right? We're not building silos. We're building cross-platform products in as many cases as we can. For Google Play as well too, just music, movies, games, all of those products are available cross-platform as well. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that's definitely important to us. And it starts with a pragmatic place, which is, we think that there's a lot of benefit in helping developers reach scale across platforms and reaching people wherever they are. And so that's a lot of the reason behind it.
So somewhat related to that, like how would you measure the health of the developer ecosystem? And it also seems that you might have a different approach to exclusivity compared to some of the other folks out there. We've seen a lot of acquisitions, just like today's Microsoft acquisition of Minecraft, presumably, I guess, to acquire exclusive content for their platforms. But does Google have a different view on exclusivity as well?
Yeah, I mean, I can't necessarily comment on what they're doing, but in terms of the overall question around a healthy ecosystem, because it's something that we think about a lot, because as we're making platform decisions, it's important that we're first thinking about the player and the user, and then thinking about the developer community, and then just thinking about how we're investing back in our business. But when we think about what makes for a healthy developer community, we want to see a larger number of successful developers. It's definitely something that's important, and what exactly that number is, it can be hard to peg. But just having a large number of developers that are being successful. It's also very important to have diversity as well, and so in terms of diversity of genres, diversity in terms of the types of content that are there. Having developers with a healthy enough business where they're investing back into the platform is another, just developer investment is another piece of a successful and healthy ecosystem. And then having a situation too where it's not just many developers that are successful, but that newer developers are able to come to the platform and be successful is another key piece for us in terms of, what is the health? Is it not just, all of the same developers that are extending their success, but that there's new entrants that are able to come. And so that's a lot of the key principles around what is a healthy ecosystem overall. Specifically around exclusivity, just for us, it hasn't really been something that we've been focused on. There are developers that will come to us and say, hey, is that interesting for you? And it largely hasn't been. And a big part of the reason is that we're seeing so much growth across the ecosystem overall, where you have just new platforms with Android TV, you have huge international opportunities that are opening up. And for us, we just feel that there's as we apply our resources against all of that, it's just those are so much more compelling to us than focus on exclusivity. And around that, we're like developing the products and making them better too. Because for us, we would much rather create a better beta testing product, for example, that allows more developers to get better early feedback from players and approaching it in that way than negotiating something that feels more artificial. And so those are a lot of the core principles in terms of ecosystem and how we approach the developer engagement.
Mm-hmm. So some things on TV have not been that successful. Google TV, maybe the first generation of micro consoles have not stolen a lot of the game market away yet. What are you sort of foreseeing in the future about where where you can make more progress, I guess?
Yeah. No, it's definitely a fair question because it's been slower than a lot of folks would hope. It's definitely, though, a form factor where I said we're just, with Android, just having it be ubiquitous is important. And it's something where there's a lot of folks that are out there that share that vision, right? There's a lot of developers that are very excited about the space. You just see, some of the early examples, just Kickstarter obviously demonstrated a lot of consumer interest. When you look at something like Google TV, that was now 4 more years ago. So just how much faster all the devices are, how much cheaper all the devices are. One thing that's really important to point out too is that Google TV was a bit early even within Google. An important difference from Android TV versus Google TV is that Android TV is now formally supported within the core Android branch, within the core Android OS. With this next release with L, TV will be a first-class citizen alongside smartphone and tablet. That actually wasn't the case with Google TV, and so all the investment that we're putting in with all the Android engineering will then be flowing into Android TV when that wasn't the case for Google TV. Also, similarly too with the store as well too, where there was kind of a different store, just a very sort of customized store for Google TV, and so with Android TV, just having support from the Play Store, from launch is going to be very important too. So just when you look at some of those changes in terms of having Android TV benefit from all the investment that we're putting into the Android core OS, into Google Play, and then just Moore's Law playing its course in terms of just bringing prices down and creating more powerful devices, we think that there's a great chance for success there. And it's something where, just in our initial conversation with developers, there's a lot of interest, right? Whether it's this year, next year, the year after, it seems something that is inevitable. And as I said before, too, just getting to scale as well, I think really matters, right? Because with developers, trying to find platforms that are really going to matter to your business is what you're all about, and that's what we're interested in helping with. And we think that the approach that we're taking with Android TV is the right one.
Any quick thought on the future of gaming, especially mobile gaming?
Especially, yeah, it's definitely it's been a fun few years with that. One just from somebody who works with developers, it's been interesting to see just a lot of companies and games have rapid rises and then some descent as well too. And one of the things that I've noticed, maybe it's been talked about a little bit less, is just the increasing humility that's out there. Where if you look at even the leaders that are out there now, some companies like Supercell, honestly, are king. If you speak with the people that are there and just the way that they carry themselves, it's pretty different, honestly, than the most successful developers over the past several years. And part of that might just be the people that are there. Part of it might be actually just understanding just how rapidly these games and companies can be built, and how quickly that can all change, just because there's so much in the industry. And so it's something that I hope applies to us at the platform level as well too. Is just there's certainly an appreciation that that's there. And so just when I think about mobile gaming, there's a part there's that part of just having that humility, I think, is something that I would like to see more of, and then also just the part around just providing really compelling experiences. And so just being able to provide something where everybody is very excited to be playing it.
That doesn't sound like total world domination. It sounds...
Your theme, not mine, Dean. Cool.
Anyway, thank you very much, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.